Hello, everybody. I'm sorry there was technical difficulties. So here I am again, and it looks like I'm going to have to start all over again. Yesterday, it was a heart-wrenching day yesterday with What's Up with Laura, where she once knew these two little boys named Alex Jensu and Johnny Lewis. There were two young boys who practically grew up in Scientology. As we all know, Scientology is known for treating children like they were adults. Nora would be known for being funny, but yesterday she was real emotional and started tearing up. Nora really knows how to tell a great story when she is telling it. And yesterday, she would tell a whopper of a story. His father, Alex Jensu, I think that's the way you read it. Alex Jensu and his father, Herbert Jensu, his father was president of the Sea Org. Both Herbert and Alex were both in that Sea Org. Nora would show a picture of little Alex when he was just 4 years old. They made him a suit to fit him, made by slave labor. Nora knew Johnny, and also Nora knew Johnny when she was a gym teacher when she was 18 years old at the time. Now, some of the public school system doesn't have much information about private schools, which is the reason why she might have very little information about public school in the public school system. This might be the reason why the school authorities don't know about Delphi Academy, because they had limited information about any of the private schools in some of these states. And that's how they got lost in the public school system. Nora thought Johnny was the sweetest kid she had ever met. She really liked him. Johnny was in school when Nora was a gym teacher. At the age of 18, imagine that. And the reason for that is the public school system don't have much information about private schools, which is practically the reason why she was an 18-year-old gym teacher in the first place. One day, Johnny had traumatic brain injury from a motorcycle accident. Johnny, and in the result, since he was so damaged by the trauma to his head, his personality would shift over to a different personality that Nora didn't even believe. Johnny one day killed his landlord. And then after that, he would also disassemble a cat. And you all know Scientology has a history of abusing animals. So he probably picked it up somewhere down the line when somebody in Scientology was abusing animals. Then Johnny was put in a mental hospital and was given an antipsychotic medication. And it worked big time. It really, really treated his symptoms, and he was back to normal. But then his parents pulled him out of the hospital and took him off his medication when a judge granted them permission to take him out of the mental institution and went back to his old self. I mean, old traumatic brain injury himself. Psychotic self from the brain injury he received. One day he was beating up on a guy that was working on one of the houses that he was living in at the time. There were other guys that saw the whole entire incident happen in front of their eyes when he was literally beating up the poor guy. Then those guys chased him all the way up to the rooftop, and then Johnny jumped out. He jumped off the roof, basically. That's what happened. And he took his own life. Then when Nora told that story, she was crying almost all the way through. And it was just too much for her to bear. I mean, she was just bombing her eyes out. Now, I would have done the same thing. But however, I am being treated myself for bipolar, and it looks like my medication would curb that symptoms that I have. So, of course, I didn't cry for that kind of reason. Nora was totally shook up by his life and his death. Then later, Nora was told her story about how she was placed in a concentration camp where she would be working in Scientology's labor camp. There, she made a crazy woman at the concentration labor camp. And we all known Scientology would cover up crimes. And that's what they did to this lady. Because she assaulted Alex. And of course, she did. She pulled up a picture of the crazy woman named Marcia Powell. That woman would create Grinder, which is a Scientology dating site, according to Nora. Yeah, that's right. A crazy person created a dating site in Scientology who fixed crazy people up with another person that can be sexually assaulted at any time. Would be self-employed. This is what OSA covers up, is crazy people like her. Then ultimately, crazy men and women like her are running around loose. But nevertheless, all the ones who are successful, the ones who are the public Scientologists, and the ones that signed the billion-year contract, who are being held captive in the Blue Building in Los Angeles and other places that have security guards. They're not there, evidently, to keep people out. They're there to keep whoever's in those buildings in and keep them from leaving. That's why they practically have to escape to have a peaceful life. Once they have it, they have a whole new look on life and start to love it. Some of them go back to school, some of them take up another job. In the big building, some of them do want out. But Scientology don't care. Tom Cruise don't care. Because he never sees it. The celebrities never see it. The wealthy people never see it. All they want is their money. And it'd be one tragic story hearing about these two little boys. Then back at that test center with William Good, there are 3 young men at the test center in Los Angeles. And of course, William Good is there too, like I just mentioned. Shannon is there inside the test center as well. All 3 of those guys were there with William right at that test center. Everybody that was there in front of the building thought Shannon was nice. Of course, we all know some of those people in there, Scientologists, are nice people. They just didn't want to be disconnected from their families. And of course, that's what they said, that she was really nice. The only difference is they don't carry popcorn. They would be a 20-minute film showing in that test center that they would show everybody who walks in. Will would inquire if they were in a room watching it, but they said they weren't even in one. Those guys were actually inside that building watching multiple movies about Scientology, and we were only aware about the one that was in that test center. Then while people are watching that 20-minute movie, Shannon and Tula would watch them. Then he would tell those guys for the first time he encountered Scientology, which would be Shannon. She had called the police on Mr. Goon when he was standing in front of the test center filming the police. She did that when everybody that was at the test center told him he couldn't stand on a public sidewalk. All the sidewalks have to be available to each and every pedestrian in the United States. Where does Scientology come up with that? And as usual, they think they would own the streets. They drove William really crazy. Then he noticed there were cameras around the test center. So he would decide to turn the tables on Scientology. Did they really appreciate it? Well, back to the test center the next day and started filming them. And those guys found his story very interesting. Then after William gave those guys his phone and started to show his first video that he filmed at the test center the next day. They would start to talk about Shannon for a while, and he tells those 3 guys that at that building about what happened. Of course, I just told you that. But then, all of a sudden, one day, it just turned into a tourist attraction. And that's what Scientology hates the most. And we all know, you know what? It's no La Cosa Nostra because they draw attention to themselves everywhere they go. And they can't even keep a secret. Everybody knows that. So they're no La Cosa Nostra. Those guys went in and and Shannon was not impressed when she found out that William Good told them everything. Those guys really had fun in front of that building with Will. And isn't that the truth? Because he really knows how to be social and is a very funny guy. He even showed it in the parade back in Christmas when he started booing them. But then finally, those guys just walk off into the sunset. Then nevertheless, everyone that is there usually go in to mess with everyone at that test center. Then ultimately, those guys never spent their money when they walked off into the sunset. And those guys are really smart too. Along with William telling the public everything they need to know about the building that they're going into. And finally, those guys learned a lot while they were with William. Then in conclusion, those guys really knew that they were a cult, but went back to mess with everyone that was in there. Well, at the end, it would be so cute. And since Nora yesterday brought up how she was placed in the concentration camp when they're working for the labor camp there. I really wanted to tell my story about my family history, about the tragic tales in my family. I'll bring that for you tomorrow. So, hit that like, press subscribe, and I'll see you again at 4:30 sharp. Bye.